We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is a such thing as being too late. There is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action. Dr. Martin Luther King spoke these prophetic words many years before my birth, yet they resonate today just as they did yesterday. We've been asked to describe in our own words the drive behind Dr. King's dream. And although I've experienced very little in my young life that can compare to the challenges of putting into words the drive behind this great man, I will do my best not only to show my appreciation to Dr. King, but all those who fought along his side. The Oxford English Dictionary defines drive as either being, the Oxford English Dictionary defines drive as either being a noun or a verb. The Oxford Dictionary gives many reference definitions to the word. As a verb, drive means to propel or carry in a specific direction. It also means to urge animals or people to move in a specified direction. We can see that the driving force behind Dr. King's dream and all that he did for the advancement of the human race was deeply rooted in love. Love is one of these great forces in nature, like wind, water, and earthquakes, for example, that's able to move not objects, but the hearts, consciousness, and attitude of man. Dr. King had an unwavering faith in the belief in the potential of a more perfect union that this nation had yet to live up to. These things would include enable rights and the phrase liberty and justice for all. Dr. King spoke on justice many times throughout his life. The most prevalent would be in his I Have a Dream speech. This speech would go down in history as one of the greatest American speeches ever to be given, along with the Gettysburg Address and others. Behind the speech, we can see not the sole desire for equality, but something much deeper, the desire for justice. Dr. King speaks of justice 11 different times throughout his I Have a Dream speech. His I Have a Dream speech has been commonly thought of as solely wanting equality, but Dr. King knew where there would be, or where he would find justice, there too equality would be found. Justice is defined as fairness, moral rightness, or a scheme in which each and every person receives his due from the system, including all rights, both natural and legal. The original Pledge of Allegiance was written in 1896 by Francis Bellamy. It has only been changed twice throughout history, once in 1923 and again in 1954. Yet the phrase liberty and justice for all has always remained constant. It is thought to be a promise of America. You are taught at a very young age that this is a land of the free and the brave, where justice and freedom reign. Yet Dr. King saw that justice had turned her back on a subset of her citizenry. It was his goal for this to be fixed by peaceful means. Dr. King referred to his dream, or his goals, as justice, in which he said every step towards the goal of justice will require sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. Dr. King did indeed sacrifice, not only time away from home, but eventually the ultimate sacrifice of giving his life, so the phrase liberty and justice for all would be fulfilled. His followers also suffered and sacrificed through bombings, lynchings, false imprisonment by various hate groups in America and very own entities of our government. In his speech, Dr. King stated, "We refuse to believe the bank of justice is bankrupt." He knew that justice had yet to be given and had yet to be received. He knew the promise of liberty and justice for all was in need of fulfillment. He goes on to say, "We've come to cash this check. A check upon demand will give us the security of justice and the riches of freedom." Dr. King said, the search for justice through the power and love of God, that all things will be made possible. He knew justice injustice could go on no longer. He expressed his ideas in 1963 when he said, "Now is the time to fulfill the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark, desolate valleys of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to escape the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood." Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. He knew justice was the promise of this nation, was in need of fulfillment for all of those who seek it. Dr. King left a lasting impression, one being that we could not walk alone, and that we would not be satisfied with injustice. Dr. King knew justice wasn't to be taken, it was to be given. When he said the time is now, he expressed the beginning to the path of justice. Some argue that the fight of justice is still being fought to this day. One thing for certain, in Dr. King's word, we would not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. These are the things that fuel Dr. King's dream. One, it was a desire for a promise to be fulfilled. It was a desire for a new beginning. And it was a desire for moving forward. The driving force behind all of these things to be achieved was the desire for justice. Through love with God's help, Dr. King was able to accomplish all of these things. We must now all take the driver's seat and continue to move this drive forward, or the stream forward. My father has instilled in me at a young age an appreciation and an understanding of the importance of those that have come before me. So I will close with a quote by him. Hope is a seed that gives birth to action. Action is a spark that gives birth to change. And change is a flame that gives birth to the light of a brighter day. By winning this scholarship, I would know there are people out there who believe my future is worth the investment. Furthermore, I would know these people also believe I am capable of carrying Dr. King's dream forward. And most of all, I know by winning this scholarship, my shoulders will be made broader for the future generations to stand. Thank you.